Hi, thanks so much for joining me on the Listen Up Girl podcast. I'm your host, Zach Randles-Friedman. Today is Sunday, August 17th, and I'm here to bring you the latest LGBTQ plus news. My first story is that Trump escalates funding cuts to LGBTQ plus programs. Since returning to office, Donald Trump has made it clear that LGBTQ plus programs, organizations, and research are once again under direct attack. His latest executive order expands what he calls a crackdown on wasteful grant making, specifically targeting federal funding for drag shows, transgender programming, and research tied to diversity, equity, and inclusion. This move isn't happening in isolation, it's part of a broader campaign that's been unfolding for months. Under Trump's earlier orders, any grant application containing words like gender identity, transgender, non-binary, anti-racism, inclusion, or even intersectionality was automatically flagged for review. In many cases, those reviews led to an immediate termination of funding. The result? Community centers, crisis hotlines, and health programs that LGBTQ people depend on are now hanging by a thread. Critics say this isn't even about waste at all, but about dismantling support systems for marginalized communities. Federal funding has long been a lifeline for local organizations, funding mental health counseling, HIV prevention, and safe spaces for queer youth. By stripping these programs, the administration isn't just cutting dollars, it's cutting lives out of the safety net. Who's surprised about this? Not me. He hates anybody. I mean, he's such a racist person. Like, he hates anybody that's not white and straight. It's sick. He's a sick person. Next, Anna Navarro urges Gloria Gaynor to reject Kennedy Center honor. The legendary disco queen Gloria Gaynor is set to receive one of the nation's highest honors in the arts, a Kennedy Center honor. But not everyone is celebrating. Anna Navarro, political commentator and host of The View, took to Instagram urging Gaynor to turn it down. Navarro praised Gaynor, calling her a goddess who deserves all the flowers that come her way. She reminded the world that Gloria Gaynor's anthem, I Will Survive, became a defining soundtrack for the LGBTQ plus community, especially during the AIDS crisis, when queer people found resilience and strength in her voice. But Navarro argued that accepting the award from President Trump would taint the legacy. She called Trump a stain on the prestige and significance of the Kennedy Center honors, pointing to his long history of attacking women, people of color, and LGBTQ plus rights. For Navarro, the issue isn't whether Gaynor deserves recognition, it's whether she should allow a president who has stripped away so many freedoms to place that recognition in her hands. The debate now swirls around Gaynor's next move. Will she embrace the honor or make a bold statement by refusing it? I hope she refuses it. It would just be a slap in President Trump's face. Next, we have GOP targets gay school board member in Florida. In Sarasota County, Florida, Republicans are calling for the resignation of Tom Edwards, an openly gay member of the county's school board. Edwards is in his second term and has recently taken a leadership role in a local pride organization, a move the GOP is painting as conflict of interest. They argued that his LGBTQ plus advocacy makes him unfit to govern fairly, claiming he is serving the interest of a small minority. Edwards supporters, however, see this as a clear attempt to silence queer voices in education and leadership. The controversy becomes even more tangled given that Edwards serves alongside Moms for Liberty co-founder Bridget Ziegler. Ziegler's family has been mired in scandal after allegations surfaced involving her husband and sexual misconduct during threesomes with women. Though her husband denied wrongdoing and prosecutors declined to file charges, the situation remains a cloud over Sarasota politics. For many in the LGBTQ plus community, the calls for Edwards' resignation look like a double standard, punishing him for openly supporting pride while overlooking the chaos surrounding the Ziegler and her family. Next, 10 years after Obergefell, marriage equality faces renewed attacks. It's been nearly a decade since the Supreme Court's landmark decision making same-sex marriage legal nationwide. The ruling transformed landscape of American life, granting LGBTQ plus couples the same recognition as heterosexual couples. Since then, more than 591,000 same-sex couples have tied the knot, according to Williams Institute. Marriage equality has not only fulfilled the dreams of countless queer couples, but also boosted the U.S. economy through weddings, travel, and legal services. But now the progress is under threat again. Far-right politicians and conservative activists are actively pushing the Supreme Court to revisit and potentially overturn Obergefell. They argue that the marriage should be left to the states, a move that could roll back rights in a large parts of the country. For LGBTQ plus families, the stakes couldn't be higher. Marriage isn't just about love, it's about healthcare access, parental rights, inheritance, legal protections in moments of crisis. Advocates warn that if the ruling falls, thousands of families could suddenly find themselves living in states that no longer recognize their marriages. So me and my husband are married. And the thing is that if we go see my brother who lives in Kentucky and something happens there and he has to go to the hospital or I have to go to the hospital in Kentucky, which is a state that does not recognize gay marriage or same-sex marriage, then we would not be able to see each other in the hospital. Also, all the federal rights that we have would be taken away. So if I die, he would not get my Social Security. If he dies, I would not get his Social Security. We wouldn't be paying taxes together any longer, I guess, since that's a federal thing, which may actually be better for us because I actually pay a lot of taxes since we're married. And before we got married, I wasn't really paying as much taxes because our incomes weren't combined. So let's see what happens. I will continue bringing you the news about what will happen with the Supreme Court in same-sex marriage. My next story is Netflix veils first look at Boots. Netflix is stepping into new territory with Boots, an upcoming LGBTQIA plus drama based on Greg Copps White's memoir, The Pink Marine. Set in the 1990s, the series follows Cameron Cope, a closeted teen played by Miles Hazer, and his best friend Ray, as they enlist in the U.S. Marine Corps. Life at boot camp is grueling for anyone, but for two men hiding their true selves, it becomes a battle of survival, physically, emotionally, and socially. This series explores how friendship, resilience, and self-discovery can flourish even in hostile environments. With Vera Farmiga and Kieran Moore and a strong cast, Boots promises to be more than a coming-of-age story. It's a reflection on what it means to grow up in a queer world determined to keep you in line. The show blends sharp wit and emotional depth, inviting viewers to walk in the shoes, literally the boots, of young LGBTQ recruits struggling to define themselves in the most unlikely of places, the U.S. military. I think that's going to be a fantastic show and can't wait to see it. Next, courts uphold gender-affirming care bans. In back-to-back rulings, two federal appeal courts have upheld bans on gender-affirming medical care for transgender youth in Arkansas and Oklahoma. The decisions follow the Supreme Court's ruling earlier this year, which set a troubling precedent by allowing Tennessee's ban to stand. The court reasoned that such bans regulate procedures and ages, not sex or gender, which critics argue is dangerous of equal protection under the law. Together, these rulings represent a significant setback for trans youth and their families who now face losing access to puberty blockers, hormone therapy, and other medically supported treatments. Medical organizations from the American Academy of Pediatrics to the AMA continue to argue that such care is safe, necessary, and life-saving. But with courts now greenlighting bans, advocates fear that trans rights are entering the most precocious period in decades. My next story is about a new sexuality. Graysexuality gains visibility online. This week, social media has been buzzing with conversations about graysexuality a term on asexuality spectrum that describes people who experience sexual attraction rarely or under specific circumstances. For some, this might mean that they only felt attraction once or twice in their lives. For others, it means attraction is so mild it barely registers. Others experience attraction only under particular conditions such as emotional bonds or certain contexts. Many in the graysexual community describe living in a gray area between asexuality, no attraction at all, and allosexuality, where attraction is frequent and clear. The discussions online have shed light just how diverse sexuality is, reminding us that labels aren't boxes, but tools to help people understand themselves. For graysexual people, visibility can mean validation, and validation can mean community. Next, Andy Cohen rips into Kim Davis. Andy Cohen is never one to hold back, and this week on his show, Watch What Happens Live, he turned his sharp tongue towards Kim Davis, the county clerk who famously refused to issue license to same-sex couples over the Obergefell ruling. Davis is now attempting to challenge same-sex marriage to courts. Cohen skewed her hypocrisy, pointing to her own history of multiple marriages and multiple personal scandals. He mocked the idea that someone with her track record, who positions herself as a defender of traditional marriage. His rant wasn't just comedy, it was a reminder of the absurdity of letting people like Davis dictate who deserves equal rights under the law. And again, this is a woman that has been married 4 times, has 4 children. She got pregnant by the 3rd man she married when she was still married to the first person. And this is the person that is telling us what traditional marriage means? Crazy. Lancaster County LGBTQ leader removed from the board. So in Pennsylvania, Lancaster County chooses Love, a major LGBTQ advocacy group, has suddenly removed one of its co-founders, Parker Webb, from its board. The announcement came with polite thanks for years of service, but offered no explanation. For a grassroots group that's been a driving force in queer advocacy, the move has left many local advocates confused and concerned. Webb, known for being deeply involved in the community outreach and organizing. Without transparency about the decision, speculation is growing over whether internal conflicts, politics, or personal issues played a role. I guess we will find out in the future if they release the information. And my last story is about Vatican. They're going to host a pro-LGBTQ plus Catholic group for the first time. So history made in October when Pope Leo welcomes representative from We Are Church, a pro-LGBTQ plus Catholic reform group, to the Vatican. The visit will coincide with the 2025 Holy Year celebrations originally called by Pope Francis before his passing. This marks the first time the Vatican has formally received a group of this nature in this form. According to Vatican officials, 8 delegates will attend, participating in a broader celebration. For LGBTQ plus Catholics, the movement is monumental. For decades, they have been pushed to the margins of the church, often that their identities were incompatible with faith. The reception suggests a shift, however cautious, towards dialogue and inclusion. Many see it as building on Pope Francis's legacy of attempting, however imperfectly, to open the doors of the church wider. So that is the LGBTQ plus news for Sunday, August 17th. Thanks for listening. Please be sure to subscribe if you haven't. Please leave a comment. I need comments so you can tell me how I'm doing. And also be sure to share the podcast with your friends. Thanks so much for listening and have a great week.